Hi, welcome back to Buckeye Gardener channel. Today I want to talk a little bit about tomato cages and trellising your tomatoes and peppers and different things you can use. I've tried several different ways of doing mine, and I'm going to show you what I like the best, what works the best for me here in Ohio. I grow a lot of indeterminate tomatoes. They get pretty tall. My determinates I grow is different than my indeterminates. I use a Florida weave trellis on them. I'll show you that here in a minute too. And I do all my peppers in the Florida weave trellis. We'll talk about tomato cages real quick first. I'm going to show you what I've got, what I've used in the past, what I use now, and different things you need to do with those. And then I'll show you how I do the weave. I need to weave my peppers up right now, actually. So I'll show you real quick how you do that. It's real easy. Let me show you these cages first and show you the different kinds I've got. All right, so here's the two different cages I've got. And I've used both of them in the past. I pretty much just use one of them now on the tomatoes. So these are the cheap, standard tomato cages you'll find at your local hardware store. I think I got these for like $1.99 a piece years ago. And I didn't use these on tomatoes. They're called tomato cages. I never use them on tomatoes. They don't get tall enough. My tomatoes, you can see in the background, I've got tomatoes that are 6 foot tall right now, and it's only in the second week of July. So they'll be 8 foot tall before it's all said and done, and then they'll start falling down the sides of my 5 foot cages. So these are like a 42-inch cage or 36-inch cage. You find them at your local hardware store. They're usually pretty cheap. I got a bunch of them on sale. But I used them on my pepper plants, and they work great on pepper plants. They're really flimsy. They're really chintzy. These were galvanized, and I give them a quick coat of paint just to try to make them last longer. I keep them inside in the winter. That helps a lot too, because they are really chintzy. They're barely spot welded. They're probably made in China. They're pretty well junk, but they're cheap. They do work great for peppers. They would probably work okay for determinate tomato plants also, because they don't get quite as tall. I've tried a couple cherry tomatoes in there out by the house one year, and they were really flimsy. And of course, cherry tomatoes get 8 foot tall around here in the summertime, so that didn't work real well. But they work great on peppers, and like I said, determinate tomato plants probably also work great because they don't get a whole lot taller than that to begin with. But so you push them down in the ground a few inches. Try to do it in the yard, so I'm not gonna get very far. But you can see they're still pretty flimsy, so you got to stake them with something. Now, what I had to start with on these were these cheap wooden stakes. I think these were from Lowe's. They're like surveyor stakes or whatever you call them. I don't know. They're 36 inches. I got a whole bundle of them. And they're junk. I mean, they're just untreated pine. They don't last very long. But it worked good for the pepper plants. So I put that around the pepper plant when it's small. Take the stake. I'd usually go down the inside and come out. That way you could tie to two of those. That would really make it sturdy. I mean, my pepper plants get 4 foot tall sometimes, and the wind will just blow them over. So you got to have something sturdy. They got to be staked. So these will work. They're pretty inexpensive. They will work. Now, when you get to bigger cages, let me show you the cages I use now. These are concrete wire cages. So you buy a roll of concrete wire. I think there's 250 foot in a roll. I can't remember exactly. I was given a partial roll, and I got 19 cages out of them 7-8 years ago, whenever I started the garden. My dad has used these same cages, same style cages in his garden. He's had them for 35 years. They were old when he got them, and they're still held up. They're outside all the time. They get elements on them year round, and they still hold up. Now, back when I did my garden, I think a roll of that wire was $120 in, and I think you get about 25 cages out of a roll of wire. So that was fairly inexpensive, you know, and when you think of that, they're gonna last you a lifetime. But I was given an old used roll. It was all rusty, and I just made my own out of them. I think I got 19 out of it. That roll of wire now that was $120 then is $250 now. So right now, if you bought a roll of wire, you can make roughly 25 cages, and you would have about 10 bucks a piece in a cage. That's still not bad, but like you said, these are nice big cages. They're, I don't know, about 20 inches around. So when I laid them out and cut them, I went, let's see, let's count the squares here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So I went 9 squares and then cut them and left, get a little closer here so you can see them. Cut them and then left the one long part. And when I wrapped it up, I just bent that around to the inside. Okay, can you see that there? That's all I did to them. And that makes about a 20-inch cage. So check again here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, 9 full squares, and then that long piece tuck in. That'll get you a nice size cage for your plants. My wire was really rusted when I got it. It was an old wire. I don't know where it was. My brother gave it to me. I had some hog ring pliers for making deer sausage and stuff, And I had some 1/2-inch hog rings that I put on here a few years ago just to strengthen them up, because when you bend these, when they were rusty, they would snap it off. Now, if you had new roll wire, you would never have that problem. Just gotta watch your ends there when you're reaching in, picking your plant. You don't poke yourself in the arm, stuff like that. But these things will last a lifetime. There's some pros and cons to them. We'll go over them here in a little bit. They will last a lifetime. I highly recommend, especially for indeterminate plants, because they get so tall. Like I said, I'm 6'4". This cage is 5 foot tall. You can see those tomatoes are already taller than me down there on a couple of those plants. And they'll get up to about that high, and then they'll finally fall down, and they'll just kind of hang on the outside and keep growing. Here in Ohio, I try to let them grow as long as I can. Usually about the second week of September, they're pretty much toast, and I'll till them in. So they'll be hanging out. I'll come through and trim the top of them and then pull the cage off when I take the cage down in the fall. So these are the best cages as far as I'm concerned for tomatoes. Like I said, they are relatively expensive if you want to think of it that way. And they're kind of bulky to store. So I've got a spot actually right behind the camera there. I keep them in the winter. I've got a couple stakes in the ground, and I'll just lay them all down and stack them up, all 19 of them there, like 4 rows high. And that's what I do with mine. So they are bulky to store. That's one con to it. The other con is they're fairly expensive. But the pro, it will last you your lifetime. They're really great. What I stake these up with is just some cheap 1/2-inch rebar. I think I bought this at Lowe's years ago, and I don't remember what it was then. I don't even know what it is now. I'm sure it's twice as much as it was. 10-foot stick. I think I bought 10 of them, brought them home, cut them in half. When I cut them, I put them on a little bit of an angle. You can see it right there, kind of. So it had a little bit of a point, because there's rock under my gardens. That way I could drive through it. Highly recommend rebar for stakes. And I know it seems crazy, but we had 40-mile-an-hour winds the other day, and every one of my tomatoes are standing up. Part of my corn blew down. Part of my peppers blew down because I didn't have them staked up yet, but they withheld all that wind, and they will hold up. Worst case scenario, it bends a little bit, and then you can straighten it back up again. It's not gonna rip it out of the ground unless a tornado or something comes through. So these also will last your lifetime. I just slap some paint on them. One reason, I won't lose them if I drop them in the garden, and two, it just keeps them from rusting up. Makes it a little bit easier, and you can, like I said, you can see them if you lay them. I lay them down when I put my grass clippings in the garden, help hold it down, so it works out good. So that right there is the best combination for tomatoes that I've found. Now, the Florida Weave, I just discovered this a couple years ago, and I really like it. It works great on determinate tomatoes. I tried it on indeterminates last year. It did not go well. I couldn't keep up with them because the indeterminates got so tall. I even used 7-foot posts and put them in the ground a foot. So they were 6 foot of post, but they just grow so fast. And I also had determinants in line with it that didn't grow as fast, so it was hard to keep them even. And that was a major downside to it. Works great on determinants though, and it works awesome on peppers. Like I said, I used to use those other cages on peppers. Now all I use is the Florida Weave on them, and it works great. There's no cage to fight around. I'll show you real quick how you do that. Just need some T-post, and I'll use a couple of these in between somewhere just to help sturdy it. Come with me, I'll show you how to do that real quick. And then I might put another row on those determinate tomatoes. They're about done growing. They'll grow a little bit more, but they need another couple rows of strings. So let me show you that real quick. Now, for the Florida Weave, you need some kind of good twine. You want something that won't stretch, and they make several different things. What I've found online the most is this grow tie twine. It's called just tomato twine. Go to Amazon, type in tomato twine, and several seed stores will have it too. It comes in a box you can hook on your belt and just pull the string out the top, hook it around your belt, walk around and lace it on with. My box got a little bit wet last year and the bottom fell out. So I've got a little pouch here I bought to put it in because I figured I wasn't gonna make it this summer. So I've got mine in a pouch. You just wanna tie it around your post. Well, I put a T-post. I use 3 on each one of these rows, put one in the middle, one on each end. So there's roughly 5 plants in between. Now on the tomatoes, you don't wanna go more than 4 on your T-post. I've got 3 on mine. I got 4 plants between the T-posts, and every 2 plants I drove a stake of rebar too, just to help make it a little bit sturdier. In here I drove rebar about halfway between the posts, so there's 4 or 5 on each side. I think that'll be okay. The peppers don't get as tall, and the tomatoes kind of block the wind anyway for them. So, see how I take these stakes out. This one got some wind damage the other night. I should have had them staked up a couple weeks ago, but as you can see, it is a mud hole in the garden, and I haven't really been able to get in here in the last week or so. So hopefully this weave will help hold these 2 up, get these out of the way. So I use a piece of conduit on mine. You don't have to. What it does is when you get to each T-post and you have to go down over it, you can just loop it around and not have to take it up over the top with your hand every time. So it makes it a lot easier for that. Once they get, like those tomatoes down there pretty tall, I'll just do those by hand when I do them, because it is kind of a pain with the pipe, but it does help when they're down low. So you're gonna wanna start on one side, go around and back around each plant, and go all the way to the end. When you get to a post, go around the post a couple times. Pull it tight, go around it so it holds tight. Go zigzag all the way to the end, turn around at the end, tie around that post, and zigzag back on the opposite side. So you'll have a string on one side, a string on the other side will hold your plant up. And you want to do that for a couple layers. These, I was going to give them one string today. These almost need two. These are trident, they're poblanos, they get pretty tall. Last year they was almost 6 foot tall. But the other ones only need one string, so we'll see here. I'll go down and come back real quick to show you how I do it. So I'll start on the outside of this one. Get the outside of this one. Outside of this one. This one got leaned a little bit too in the windstorm. And I'm going a little bit higher on these because they're a little bit taller plants. So when I get to my post, I'll just hold my line tight, wrap around it, kind of try to wrap it on itself. Usually I go around each post twice. Here we go. Back around, back around, back around. Pull it tight a little bit there. And you don't want to get it too tight. Last year I got a couple of my tomatoes too tight and they broke off. All right, go around, around. See how fast I'm going around these plants with this pipe. It really makes the job so much easier. You don't have to get crazy tight with it. You don't have to try to knock the plant over or anything. Round, round. So I made it to the end. We'll give her a little tug. We'll go around once. See where that pipe comes in handy. Hopefully you can see it there. We're going around that pole. Now I want to go back on the opposite side. So we'll go around that side, come back on this side, back on this side. See, I can get right underneath that plant with that pipe. Back to the post. All right, where am I at here? On this side, so we'll start out here, come over here, come over here, over here, over here, over here. Wrap around the post a couple times. Like I said, this is where that pipe comes in handy. You don't have to use it. You can use your hands. Won't hurt anything. So I'm on that side. So this one's opposite. Go around, go around, go around. Around the post. And help this one out here again. Like I said, got a little wind damage the other day. Get this end here. Pull that one over. All right. So we'll just get around the pole a couple times, give her a little snug. Take my knife. Now, this string here is not biodegradable or anything, so in the fall, when I cut it off, I'll have to either throw it away or put it in a burn pile or something to get rid of it. You don't want to leave that in your garden. That'll wrap up your tiller tines or it won't decompose. But it doesn't have any stretch to it, which is what you want on this. So that's how I go around them. Like I said, you can see these ones here, they're already sturdier than they were. I might go ahead and put one more just to that first pipe just to help these out, since they're going to be a taller plant. That's how I do that. Let me do another lane and those tomatoes real quick, and then I'll show you a quick update on some of that stuff. Okay, so I got my quarter weave on my peppers. I did one line on this row, one line on that row, and that end up where the taller ones was, I went ahead and did a second row on those. Those are those trident poblanos. Now, let me show you my cages here with my tomatoes. I got these tomatoes here on the Florida weave. Let me back up a little bit. These are, right now they're about 3.5 foot tall. These are red snappers. I'll do these on the Florida weave because, as you can see, they don't get as tall as the indeterminates on that end or the ones behind it there. See the ones there, they're taller than me already. They're 6.5 foot tall. So they're starting to finally take off good. I've got a lemon boy here in a second I'm going to try. One of my favorite tomatoes. But yeah, they're starting to grow good. These probably won't get a whole lot taller than this. I might come back and do one more row. Right now they've got 5 rows of string. I don't know if they're going to need another one or not, but I might just have to tuck them back up. So sometimes you can get them, kind of tuck the ends back up as they grow out and stuff. But that works good on the determiners. Like I said, the end determiners, you can see how tall they get over there. It just didn't work very well on them. So I do recommend some kind of cages on those. I'll walk over here, I can show you some of them. You can see here those 5-foot cages I was talking about. These are the lemon boys on the end. This one that's massive, it was a free seed. I forget what it's called. It's a chocolate pear or something. It's got wee little ones starting down there in the bottom. And then these are brand new ones up here. You can see they're starting to grow out of the cages. These will get pretty tall too. And then these are determiners. You can see how much shorter they are. Where I was putting them, I had rows or cages in this row, so I just put cages on them. Like I said, determiners grow fine in the cage too. These are having really good production on them this year, it looks like. Last year I wasn't overly impressed with them. But they are looking good this year. And I don't sucker any of my plants or trim them. I never have. My dad never has. Got a little bit yellow on some of these, but these are my early girls down there. I've had a couple of these already. They're been pretty good. And let's see, I got Sun Sugar on the end, and this is a Super Sweet 100. I just ate one of these. Can't see any ready right now, but it was really, really good. One of the best cherry tomatoes I ever had. All right, so that's how I do my cages on my tomatoes and my Florida weave. I kind of wanted to show you earlier in the year when it was a little bit smaller when I put them on. And I was in such a hurry this year, didn't get to it. And it has rained like for 3 weeks straight. It is so wet. You probably saw I have my rubber boots on today, and they are just covered in mud. I'm glad I put them on because tennis shoes would have been a total loss in there. But anyhow, I got one of these lemon boy here tomatoes. I've had, I don't know, 3 or 4 of these already. These have produced a week or two earlier than my early girls last year and this year. And these are one of my favorite tomatoes. I just started growing them last year, and I absolutely loved them. I want to show you the inside. This one probably could use one more day, but let's see what it looks like. See, it's still got a fuzz of green, but they're really mild tomato. I've never been a yellow tomato person, and I tried these last year after watching Lazy Dog Farm online. He grew some, and I was like, yeah, those look pretty good. I'll give them a try. And these were probably my favorite tomato of the year. And they're real similar to pink brandywine, but if you like pink brandywines, and these come on about 3 or 4 weeks earlier than they do. So if you want an early tomato too, I highly recommend trying these. Delicious. Could use one more day, but boy, it's sweet. It's a really mild tomato. It's not very acidy. Really, really good. So try these next year if you're looking for a tomato that produces early. They produce throughout the year too. I had some really big ones on last year too. You see, this was a decent sized little one, but for early. My early girls were about the same size, but I've only had one of them. I've had 3 or 4 of these, so these are definitely producing earlier. Earliest ones I had this year. So hopefully you saw something today you can use. Like I said, just trying to show you how I do mine. I've tried different methods. This is what I found works the best for me. So hopefully you found something today that can help you out. And we'll give you an update here on some more of this. See, the corn's starting to tassel. It's looking pretty good. I'm going to spray it soon. I lost most of mine to stink bugs last year, so we'll try to spray mine early this year. I don't see any on. I was looking there a minute ago. I don't see any yet, but I'm going to go ahead and give it an early spray. I'm going to try some spinosad this year, see what that does. I used some of my potato bugs, were great. That's the only thing I've sprayed this year, so haven't had bugs too bad yet, but it's just now getting real hot and muggy, so we'll see what happens. So thanks for watching, and we'll catch you next time here on Buckeye Gardener Channel.